Hey guys, this is Julian of Julian Gray Media, and today I'm going to be covering something that's been asked a lot on this channel. It's going to be very challenging to cover, as this is something that is very subjective to the musician, and it really involves the musician's actual emotion and personality. This video is going to be on writing melodies. Now, because music is so melody driven and melody kind of defines the artist's style or you know signature, it's impossible for me to explain a way for you to write your own melodies. Excuse me. I can give you some tips on things that I do, and that's what we're going to be doing in this video. But in order to kind of find your musical style and to find your signature sound, if you will, you're going to have to play around with melody. You're going to have to go to a piano or something, just mess around with it, maybe learn an instrument, go into Ableton and write out some notes yourself. Melody is something that comes either really naturally or it's going to be a big challenge to, use. Some people can write out melodies with almost little to no effort at all. I'm one of those people. I was raised in music, so I have a very good background in melody, and I can write melodies very easily. It might become as a, more of a challenge to some people that aren't so melodically trained or, don't have a background in music or were never taught music concepts like melody from a young age. But today I'm just going to go over some stuff that I would do when I'm writing a melody, or a melodies for a track. But again, these are the ways I write. You don't have to necessarily go off of these ways. So let's just drag in a plugin here. Let's use Serum as always. Another thing I forgot to mention, if you want to learn to write melodies and you want to get involved with music writing, it might be a good thing to check out some videos on music theory. Vania made a video on using theory and dance music. You can check that out above me now. I'll put a link to it in the description as well. And he did a tutorial on basic music theory. I think it was with I can't remember what the company is, but they're one of those companies kind of like Future Music, where they do like a interview with a guy and they explain everything. But if you're going to get into music melody writing, it might be a good idea to have a background in some theory. It's not completely necessary. Most famous musicians like Deadmau5, Skrillex, I'm pretty sure Skrillex at least, I think Avicii, they don't have musical training at all. They just know what they're doing. Hans Zimmer, the music scoring composer for movies like Inception and Interstellar, he doesn't have any theory background, but theory can kind of give you a starting ground to work off of if you have no experience with melodies. So you can check out that Castlevania melody writing or tutorial in the description. So for me, I'm just going to use an initial preset. Whenever I start a track, I go and I start with either a bass line or a lead. I think we're going to start with a bass line in this video. So what I'm going to do is just leave this on the initial preset here. Let me turn that down so it doesn't murder you guys. Okay, we have the initial preset here. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to drag this down an octave so that we have a little bit of a bass line kind of sound here. It's not exactly a sound I would use in a track, but it's an initial preset. So what are you going to do? Okay, so I just wanted something bassy. So what we're going to do, I'm going to actually just write in the notes for this song. Let's put this at 128. Let's do something housey. Double click on the clip thing. If you want to learn the basics of making music, make sure to follow my Ableton tutorials. I have tutorials on how to do and use Ableton to its fullest extent. So let's see if we zoom out here. Okay, we're at 1 bar. Let's turn that to 4. And I usually write in either 4 or 8 bar loops. Actually, let's just do an 8 bar loop here. So first things first, I'm going to get started. I'm going to pick a key to start in. Let's do. Let's do a D. Okay. So right off the bat, I'm gonna do like a D held for a full whole note, maybe actually a half note. Let's play this real quick. Okay, so when I write melodies, I usually kind of picture it in my head before I do it. It's kind of hard to do that when you're writing on the spot like this. So writing melodies right now for me is going to be a challenge. But what I would recommend if you're just getting started is to think about the melody you want to write before you start writing. And once it's in your head, it's just a matter of getting it out onto the grid here. Music theory can help with that too, because it allows you to count and figure out exactly how long everything will have to be and which notes they will be and fall under. So let's just give this a play here. Okay, that should work. Let's just turn up these velocities so we have a balance. Still, let me turn that down a little bit more. Okay, so cool. So we have kind of like a pad or a bass line kind of sound. We're going to modulate this. So let's go to Serum real quick. Rather than writing it out in eighth notes or whatever, I'm just going to do a filter cut. Let's enable the filter here, and let's make the LFO like a plucky kind of thing. Let's turn this to an eighth note, and then let's drag the LFO to the cutoff here. An alternative to this would be to write out each and every note like this. If I was to take this and make it like this long and then just duplicate it over and over, you can do that as well, but I'm just going to do it in Serum manually or automatically. So let's just make this move. So I'm thinking this is more of like a pad or mid sound. I'm just going to turn that detune up just a little bit. I'm trying not to worry about the sound design and more of the melodic aspects to this video. But that's melody one. What I usually do is write one melody, and then once you get the bass melody, it's kind of easy to continuously add on to it. The hardest part about writing a tune is to get that bass melody down. And once you get that down, everything else comes a little bit easier. For instance, now we can drag in Serum, and we can write a bass line to correspond with that we just wrote. So let's just turn that down. I'm just going to grab a little bit of a pluck here. This will be easy to set up, so let's just do that. It doesn't have to be the sound. I'm just making it so we can have something to work with here. Cool, so let's write out this melody. We know the key is in D, so let's grab that D real quick and find where it is. Just enable the headphone. And what I'm going to do is actually do like a triplet kind of thing, like a zoom in here. And do it on every other note. We're going to do a every dotted note we're going to do a note. So what I do with bass lines is I tend to bring them into a higher octave to work on them, and then I lower them back down into the bass so that I can hear everything that's going on without the sub distorting anything via portholes and things like that on your monitors that you can't hear. So let's bring this up an octave here by holding shift and up, and then we're going to hold on. We're going to work on the melody for the bass line in a higher octave here. So already you can kind of hear the melody coming into play a little bit. Essentially, this is how the entire track goes. I write a bass line or a bass melody, and then I write everything else around that melody. It's very hard to get that first bass melody in, but once you start getting the main melody in, then everything else can fall into place relatively easily. Let's just finish up this bass line here, and then I think we will wrap this up. So here we go. That's it. Let's see how this sounds. Let me just adjust that melody right there. To be creative, we can even modulate the main melody a little bit differently. So let's try like a 16th note. But you get the idea, guys. Writing a melody is very personal to you. It really is what defines every artist from each other. Bach doesn't sound like Beethoven. Skrillex doesn't sound like Zed and everybody else. It's not the production value, and it's not a technical aspect. Melody writing is something very personal to the writer. If your melodies aren't sounding like you want, don't be discouraged. Just take the time practice them, and eventually you'll get there. It may come as easier to some people and come harder to others, but eventually you all can write melodies like this, or like anything that you want. It just takes time and effort, and as does everything in music production. But again, my tips about writing melodies from my point of view is to write from the bottom up. You write the bass line, you write the pads, and then you write the lead or whatever, and then you also write the main melody, and then you build off of that. And once you start doing that, you start to understand the idea of harmony, you start to understand the idea of counter melody and that sort of thing. So I hope this video helped you guys out. If you have any questions or any comments, just leave those in the comment section below. Make sure you like the video if you did like it, dislike the video if you didn't like it, but let me know why you didn't like it in the comments or a personal message or whatever. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. I make a video every Wednesday and Friday. I do vlogs and I do tutorials and stuff like this, so I hope you check it out. So this is Julian of Julian Gray Media, and I will talk to you guys next time. Make sure to check out my Ableton videos, and I will see you guys in the future. Bye-bye.